Okay, so good day everyone. So today I will be discussing about a disease called cholera. So cholera is a gastrointestinal disease which is caused by a bacteria na madi-discuss ko later. But before we start, I prepared a short icebreaker that you can do at home. So my icebreaker is called Guess the Picture. So here I will flash some pictures that you will be guessing what is the answer. So here we have the first picture. So the answer here is bacteria, of course. Next. So the answer here is oral. Next. This is the last one. So the answer here is gastrointestinal. So the words that are included in the icebreaker are some of the few words that will be tackled also later. To start off with the causative agent, cholera, it is caused by the bacteria called Vibrio cholerae. So it is an infection sa ating intestines and it belongs to the family Vibrionaceae. So here are some of the pictures ng Vibrio cholerae. And to dig deeper, Vibrio cholerae, it is a gram-negative. When we say gram-negative, may 10 peptidoglycan sila at meron sila nag-contain sila ng lipopolysaccharide na merong 3 components which we will discuss later on. And it is also a facultative fermentative bacteria. When we say facultative naman, it can either live with oxygen or without. So its shape, as we can see, it is a curved rod shape. So ang tawag sa shape na ito ay Vibrio. Dun din hango yung pangalan niya na Vibrio cholerae. So for its flagellation, it is a monotrichous and polar. When we say monotrichous, isa lang yung kanyang flagella at polar kasi nasa isang side pa. And for the lipopolysaccharide, as I've mentioned, it has 3 components, starting with O polysaccharide. This is where the antigen lies, the core polysaccharide, which is for stability, and the lipid A, which releases the endotoxin. So, for the O polysaccharide, ito yung part ng lipopolysaccharide na nag-contain ng serogroups, wherein ang serogroups ng Vibrio cholerae ay over 140. Pero, out of this 140 ay only O1 and O139 yung may kakayahang mag-produce ng cholera toxin na kung saan itong cholera toxin yung nakakapag-cause sa atin ng disease. Moreover, Vibrio cholerae can also grow in a variety of temperatures and can tolerate a wide range of pH starting from 6.5 to 9. And it can also grow in the absence of salt. So with salt or without, it can grow on its own. And as we can see here in the picture, meron siyang hair-like structures around it. So ito ay pili. It helps in assisting or mediating virulence ng Vibrio cholerae. When we say virulence, ito yung bagsik ng bacteria. So note, most people who get cholera don't get sick. However, cholera can cause life-threatening watery diarrhea and vomiting. So later malalaman natin kung paano nga pa siya nakakapag-cause ng watery diarrhea. For its susceptibility naman, usually is children below 5 years old yung prone sa cholera kasi 'di ba nga yung mga bata is may tendency sila na maglaro sa labas and hindi maghugas ng kamay afterwards. Kaya ang nangyayari is kapag kumain sila is nai-ingest nila yung bacteria na Vibrio cholerae. For its mode of transmission, we have oral transmission and indirect transmission through fecal-oral route. So, to further understand, I provided some examples. So here, Nika is a girl who lives on the mountains. And isang araw, nauuhaw si Nika, as we can see in the picture. And ang only source of water nila is the river. Kasi nga sila ay mga tao na indigenous. So, ang tendency dahil nauuhaw siya, syempre pupunta siya dun sa river. Pero little did Nika know na sa ilalim pala ng river na yun ay contaminated na. Pero dahil wala nga siyang alam, na-ingest niya yung or na-take in niya yung tubig galing dun sa maduming ilog na yun. Tapos, dahil nga ni madumi yun, madami siyang bacteria na nakapaloob. So, anong nangyari is, nakuha ni Nika yung Vibrio cholerae na bacteria. Kaya, kinabukasan, ang nangyari, nagsakit yung tiyan niya. So, nagkaroon na siya ng disease na cholera. So, this can happen by ingesting contaminated food or water na nag-contain ng bacteria for oral transmission. And for indirect transmission naman, from the fecal-oral route, here I also provided an example. So here, Annette has cholera. And as we can see in the picture, si Annette ay tumatae raw. Pero, si Annette pagkatapos tumae ay syempre, hindi siya naghugas ng kamay dahil nga siya ay bata at hindi pa marunong. And with dirty hands, Annette borrowed a pen from Cyrus. So, syempre, hahawakan niya yung pen na yon, gagamitin niya. Ang mangyayari, mapapasa ni Annette yung bacteria na Vibrio cholerae dun sa lapis. At syempre, pagkatapos gamitin, dahil mabait na mag-aaral si Annette, ibabalik niya yung lapis kay Cyrus. So, pagkabalik niya ng lapis kay Cyrus, syempre, mahawakan din ni Cyrus. Ngunit dahil mga bata pangani sila, edi ang mangyayari ay hindi magahugas din ng kamay yung isa. So, si Cyrus din, dahil hindi siya naghugas ng kamay without washing her hands, kumain naman ng cake nung recess. So, anong mangyayari? Di magkakasakit na rin si Cyrus. Bale, napasa sa kanya ni Annette through the fecal-oral route. So here we have the risk factors of cholera disease. We have unimproved water sources, non-potable water, open defecation, poor sanitation, poor hygiene, and eating undercooked and raw food. So dito nga sa eating undercooked and raw food, yung mga Vibrio cholerae kasi, sila ay usually nakatira sa mga fresh water or sa salt water. So minsan is kumakapit sila sa mga, or sumasama, nakakain din sila ng mga organisms na nakatira sa mga lugar na yon, sa mga salt water at saka sa fresh water. So, anong mangyayari naman kapag syempre kinain natin yung mga organism na yun without cooking? Edi syempre, makakain na rin natin yung Vibrio cholerae ng buhay na buhay. Kaya, ang mangyayari is magkakaroon tayo ng cholera disease. Kaya, always remember na laging lutuin. As much as possible is cooked food yung ating kainin, lalo na kapag nasa mga unfamiliar places tayo. So, moving on with the pathogenesis and clinical manifestations. So here I have an image of the pathogenesis ng cholera disease. So i-explain ko na lang sa inyo. So first here sa left picture, makikita nyo na through ingestion is na kukuha natin yung bacteria na Vibrio cholerae. And syempre, pag na-ingest natin, dadaan siya sa ating GI tract or sa ating gastrointestinal tract, na kung saan is mapupunta siya sa ating mga intestines. And kapag nasa intestines na natin, mapunta siya sa more specific part ng ating intestines, which is the intestinal mucosa. At dito siya magre-replicate at magpaparami. So, mag-form siya dito ng layer, and kapag madami na sila, mag-produce naman sila ng cholera toxin, yung ina-release ng serogroups O1 at saka O139. So, kapag nakapag-release na siya ng cholera toxin, itong cholera toxin is mag-bind siya sa receptor sa ating epithelial cells na natawag natin na GM1 ganglioside. So, pagka-bind niya dito is yung A subunit ng cholera toxin is mag-bind naman siya dun sa G protein, as we can see here, na kung saan is pag nag-bind sila is mag-increase yung production ng enzyme na adenylate cyclase. Wherein itong adenylate cyclase ay siya ay nakakapag-produce ng CAMP, wherein syempre kapag tumaas yung adenylate cyclase, mataas din yung production ng CAMP or the cyclic adenosine monophosphate. At kapag tumaas naman yung CAMP, is maga-trigger naman ito sa pag-produce ng CFTR. So itong CFTR naman na ito ay siya yung makakapag-trigger sa pag-release ng chlorine at saka ng water sa ating intestines, kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng watery diarrhea. Kasi yung katawan natin ay nag-release siya ng madaming tubig sa ating intestines. So, here I also provided a flow chart of the summary ng pathogenesis ng cholera para mas maintindihan nyo. So, first, it will enter our body through our GI tract and then mag-multiply siya sa ating small intestines, more specifically sa ating intestinal mucosa. And then, it will release cholera toxin. Tapos yung cholera toxin na to magabind sa ating epithelial cells and it will result to a rise in adenylate cyclase na nakakapag-produce din ng madaming CAMP dahil nga nagkaroon ng rise dun sa enzyme na adenylate cyclase. And then as a result, it will increase the secretion of chlorine, bicarbonate, water, and other elements na kung saan siya yung magkukos sa atin na magkaroon ng watery diarrhea or what we call the rice water stool. For its clinical manifestations, it is profuse or watery diarrhea, vomiting, and rapid dehydration. So for its signs and symptoms, ang main symptom niya usually is diarrhea or yung watery diarrhea na nasabi ko kanina kasi nga maraming mawawalang tubig sa katawan natin, vomiting, fatigue or pagkapagod, pwede ring muscle cramps, weakness, extreme thirst, sakit sa puso o di kaya naman ay mahirap pa siya huminga. Pagka maunti ng pagkaihi niya, so maunti na lang yung malalabas niya ihi kasi nga wala na siyang water sa kanyang katawan at pwede ring dizziness o pagkahilo. So for the clinical findings, yung incubation period niya ay usually 1 to 2 days on average, pero it depends na rin sa tao. Basta it can be anywhere from 12 hours to 5 days. So yung diarrhea nito siya ay watery and non-bloody, meaning walang dugo. So kapag may dugo yan, iba na yan. Watery dahil nga nag-release ng madaming tubig yung ating katawan. And bile and fecal matter can be seen in early phase of infection. Tapos yung tawag naman sa severe cholera ay cholera gravis. So ito ay yung madami na talaga na nare-release. As we can see, up to 1 liter of stool per hour in adults. Ganun kadami yung nare-release, nawawalan tubig sa katawan kapag may severe cholera ka na. Tapos siya rin ay may fishy odor. So, significant losses of fluids and electrolytes, including sodium, potassium, and bicarbonate. So, kapag hindi ito naagapan, it can also lead to death within 12 hours. Kasi imagine, madidehydrate yung katawan mo, ano na lang yung magfa-function, di ba? So, yung diarrhea ng cholera usually lasts from 4 to 6 days. And same with the diarrhea, yung vomiting niya ay watery and non-bloody as well. So, severe dehydration can lead to hypovolemic shock. When we say hypovolemic shock, ito ay nag-shutdown yung mga organs sa katawan natin. So, syempre, kapag wala ka ng tubig sa katawan, paano pagagana, diba? Kasi water is very important in the metabolic process of our body. Kaya kapag wala yung water, is may tendency na magkaroon ka ng hypovolemic shock. For laboratory diagnosis, the most common way to identify cholera is by isolating the bacteria Vibrio cholerae from a stool sample. So, makuha ka ng sample ng tae nung merong suspected na cholera and then magpe-perform ka ng 001 and 0139 na serotyping para malaman mo talaga kung meron siyang cholera. And for molecular methods used, it is PCR or polymerase chain reaction. And also Kerry-Blair transport medium, it is the most common method to transport stool sample. Tandaan, Kerry-Blair transport medium. But also in diagnosing people with cholera, syempre ang una nagawa ng ating mga doctors is i-assess muna yung signs and symptoms niya para at hindi naman agad-agad syempre naga-demand ng laboratory diagnosis. So cholera, it is treated through water and electrolyte replacement for the treatment. So, syempre, dahil water yung nawala sa katawan natin, water din yung ating ibabalik through rehydration. So, usually yung rehydration, kapag mild pa lang yung cholera, is nagawa siya orally. Pero kapag hindi na talaga kaya is ina-injection na sila ng IV fluids. So, here we have intravenous fluids. Kapag ito ay malala na, kapag hindi na talaga kaya ng patient. Also, we have antibiotics for treatment. So, hindi naman siya necessary, pero pag severe na talaga is kailangan na rin ng antibiotics ng patient para mas mabilis yung recovery. And also, zinc supplements. Dahil nga ni zinc, according to research, zinc might decrease diarrhea and shorten how long it will last. So, for the prevention, we can prevent cholera by drinking and using safe water, by washing our hands often, performing sanitation and hand hygiene, and also using clean and safe toilets, and also eating food that has been thoroughly cooked. And syempre, lagi tayong maglinis. Other preventions, we can also have vaccines na kung saan sa cholera is yung vaccines ay taken orally usually. So, we have vaccines such as Vaxchora. It can last up to 3 to 6 months. So, maikling period lang siya nagalas. And apply siya usually sa mga age from 2 years old and above. Pwede na siyang i-take ng mga 2 years old. For the Dukoral naman, it provide protection against cholera for 2 years. So, mas mahaba siya kaysa sa Vaxchora. And taken orally din siya. At nabigay din siya sa mga ages 2 to 3 years old and above. We also have Uvicol Plus and Scancol, kung saan is pareho lang actually itong dalawa. Ang pagkakaiba lang nila is magkaiba sila ng manufacturer. So, that's all. For our assessment is madali lang ito. So, you try guys to answer at home. So, ito ay question and answer lang agad pagkatapos. So, what is the causative agent of cholera? The answer is Vibrio cholerae. So next, what is the specific part of the intestine where the bacteria multiplies? The answer is intestinal mucosa. So third, give one mode of transmission of cholera. Dalawa lang actually yun, so mamimili lang kayo dun. The answer can be either oral or indirect transmission. Next, watery diarrhea is also called blank. The answer is rice water stool. And lastly, what serogroups of Vibrio cholerae only produces cholera toxin? So the answer is O1 and O139. So that's all for my presentation and I hope you learned something from it. Thank you.